I spent 10 years working as a professional portrait photographer and had the opportunity to study with a photographer locally to learn classic portraiture. I also had the opportunity to attend numerous workshops and seminars on portrait posing, and that is what I'd like to talk to you about today. Portrait posing, if you know just a few basics, can really improve the quality of your photographs. The thing to remember about posing your subject is that, first of all, they're not going to know how to do it themselves. They're not going to know what to do with their hands. They're not going to know what expression that you want from them. So you pretty much have to do it for them as the photographer. To start posing, remember feet first. Start with the feet and work your way up the body. So it's just really 5 steps involving posing the feet, posing the legs and hips, posing the hands, the torso, and then the head and face to get the image that you're wanting. So as I said, your photo is only as good as the pose and expression of your subject, and you're the one who has to generate that. So we'll start with the feet, and as I said, the feet come first. The way the subject stands determines how relaxed they're going to be in the pose and how natural the pose is going to look. What you want to do is to establish a near and far foot to give some depth to your photograph, slim your subject, and just make a more pleasing image overall. So the back foot, you'll want to turn about a 45-degree angle to the camera, keeping the front foot forward. And the model here, I think, shows you that. And I have another photo that'll give you a little better idea. So you never want to have your subject facing straight forward toward the camera. This gives a very imposing look and not a very flattering look for the body. You want to have them turn with their foot 45 degrees in the back and straight on toward the camera here, as you can see in these 2 photos. Then we'll go ahead and pose the back leg just a little. Have your subject bend the back knee into a more relaxed pose, and this will seem more natural. So this will give you a better idea also of the look that we're trying to achieve. Here's the front foot, the back foot, and it's a little hard to tell with the foreshortening here, but this will be a more relaxed pose for the person that you're photographing. The next step is to photograph the hands, to pose the hands. And generally speaking, the hands are better posed in the same plane as the body. This photograph shows something different. This person looks like they may be needing something or asking for something. And that's okay if you want to create a special effect, but generally speaking, keeping the hands close to the body is a good idea. There are numerous things that you can do with the hands. If the subject is being photographed from the waist up and their hands are above their waist, then you'll want to turn the hands with the palms facing upward like that. And this just gives a more pleasing and natural look to the hands, the way that you would normally hold your hands when you're talking and gesturing. If the hands are below the waist, then you can just let them fall into a natural position. I recommend if you're going to have your hands in the photograph that you keep the fingers closed. It's less distracting in the photograph. And you can even give your subject something to do, like hold something, look like they're reading a book, whatever you want to do there. Sometimes something related to their profession or something that's meaningful to them will create a lasting impression. The last thing I want to mention about that is that, well, there are 2 more things, If you put hands in pockets, say like that, you'll want to be sure that you have at least the thumb sticking out of the pocket, because this will, if you put the whole hand in the pocket, then it will give the effect in the final photograph of the hand being chopped off, severed, so it doesn't look very good. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you about this is that it's generally best to photograph the hand so you see just the side of the hand, rather than flat palmed like this or turned over this way, because it just gives a more pleasing appearance to the hands. The next thing that we'll work with is the torso, and what you want to do here is to show you this one first. Avoid what I call the mugshot, where you have the person facing straight on into the camera, and it is a very imposing, gives a very imposing image. Also, it doesn't add any depth to your photograph. So what we're going to do is, we already have our subject facing slightly at an angle to the camera, and then we can leave the person like this, but we can turn the torso even a little bit more. So we're establishing a more pleasing line, we're adding depth to our photograph here, and the person will find this to be a more flattering position in the overall picture. Let's see, I wanted to add on this that you don't want to overdo the angling, because if you do, it will end up giving you the appearance of a body that's not big enough to support the head. So, as you can see in something like that. Now this pose works for both men and women. Especially for women, you never want to photograph them facing straight onto the camera like this, because guaranteed it is an image they will not like. This makes your body look too wide. It doesn't emphasize the breasts and the bust line. So avoid this if you can, unless you're going for a very special effect. The last step is the head. And posing the head can be a little bit tricky, but not so bad. For both men and women with the body angled the way it is, the face can be positioned either straight on toward the camera. I'm going to get him to move for me here. Yep. That's hard to do. I think, there we go. Okay, either straight on toward the camera, or you can turn it in the same direction as the body's turned. So that is simple. Now for women, you can even, as you see the near shoulder here, you can have the body facing one direction and have them turn the head back and down a little into that near shoulder. And that is a particularly flattering way to photograph women, because it does emphasize the face nicely. It puts it in what we call a 3/4 frontal view, which is a very, very slimming, facially slimming pose. And then it also emphasizes the bust line, which makes the final portrait very soft and sexy, I guess that's what I want to say. So we've got your 3/4 frontal view of the face if your person is looking the same direction as your body. This does narrow a wide face, so I can kind of show you here on my wide face how that would work. And then we want to tilt the head slightly and raise the chin a little, or lower the chin a little. You want to raise the chin for most people, I think, because you can avoid this double chin effect, and then it's very flattering. And then also you can, if you look at my nose here, if you raise the chin, you shorten the nose. So if you have a subject with a really long nose, then you'll want to just raise the head like that. You can then go ahead and photograph from the same level as your subject, or from slightly above your subject. If you have someone who's particularly heavy, that's a nice way to to make the body appear more diminutive. Or you can shoot from slightly below, like we saw in this picture. I think this one is slightly below. It's a little hard to tell, to give a more dramatic effect. And the final step, once you've got everything posed the way that you want it posed, let's just turn him or her, let's call it her, this way. And you have everything posed. The final step in your photograph is the eyes. The eyes are the most powerful part of your photograph, and they can really make or break the photograph even if you have everything else spot on. So to create a more interesting and attractive expression, you can have your subject lower their chin a little like this, shoot from a higher perspective to emphasize the eyes. Well, posing sounds like it takes a lot of time, but you can do it pretty quickly. Just remember, feet first, working your way up toward the body through the legs and hips, hands, torso, the face and neck, face and head, and finally the eyes have it.